Hello, I am Bret Rockmore, and this is Georgia Watson, and we are here today to introduce to you a new beginning of the Art of Creation show, where Rebecca is the host. This is now her show, and she's got some possibilities. She's got a smorgasbord of possibilities she'd like to present to you, to choose what you'd like and to discard the rest. So, without further ado, here is your host, Rebecca Boswell.
Let's go wild. Hey, everybody. Thank you.
Want to know, got to let it show.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I wonder what would it take to actually have that be the intro moving forward.
We might have to record something for that.
Yes, I think so. Well, thank you and welcome everybody, yes, to the Art of Creation show with a whole new set of energies and a whole new set of possibilities and a huge invitation to all of us for creating what's actually going to work in the future. Choice creates. How can we play with that? And I have the pleasure today to introduce you to Georgia Watson, Bret Rockmore, and have a fun conversation to kick off this new beginning of the show. So we have been talking about what would be fun for our kickoff episode. And
We have a kitty here too.
hey, kitty. And we actually, Bret came up with an amazing question around money, right? And I wonder,
the entire world, get ready for it.
is money the source of all weevils? Now, please, we really don't intend to insult or offend any weevels in the making of the show.
And we're on the side to appease you.
There we go.
I looked up the old definition of weevils, the 1828 dictionary definition, and it says it's basically like weevils are very damaging to wheat and corn crops. They're very devastating to them. And weevils are slightly larger than a louse.
So that's relevant info about weevils.
So they are easier to see, but not much. So I love this kind of playful question around a topic that not everybody is super light and playful around. The topic of, is anyone listening?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, money. Did you know?
Kitty came in and walked in front of the screen, and Kitty's actually changed both of our realities with money.
Totally.
He is completely irreverent and has total receiving.
And choice.
Is that even allowed in this reality?
I don't think so. He found a way around. Like, we'll have stacks of money around. Sometimes we'll be counting things. We have something called the 10% account, which we can talk about later if you'd like. Or we'll get, like, I'll get a new pair of designer heels. He will lay and put his butt right on top of it. Or like I have a product, he will lay right on it. So, you know, receiving and money, it's made this really serious thing. But what if we could just put our butts on it and receive?
Yes. Oh, I love it. So let's just all put our butts on the money and receive a little bit of that fun energy. And so money and creating future. Like, are you telling me that when people are dissatisfied with their money situation, that they're actually choosing that? How is that even possible?
Well, if you're dissatisfied with any aspect of your life, that like anybody watching here, that might actually be a gift, because anytime there's almost like a modicum of like, hey, this isn't enough, or like, I would like something to be a little different here. This kind of royally sucks. Then what? So a lot of people will stay there, and that's cool. But who we are talking to, and in this new show too, Rebecca, you're talking about like creating like a buffet of possibilities. So who we're talking to right now is if you are dissatisfied with an area of your life, but also are like and what else? So like this kind of sucks, or like this isn't as much as I know could be.
Yeah.
But now what? Like now what can we play with?
Yeah, because if you're someone who's watching this and there is something you'd like to have different, if there is a sense of dissatisfaction, that might be, you know, check if this jives with you. But
I jive. I mean, wait, but now what are you going to say? She definitely
jive.
I always jive.
There might be the possibility that there is something that is greater that is possible for you, that you know is possible for you.
And you've always known it.
You've always known that you haven't chosen. Because if you were truly content with exactly where you were right now, you just stay there. You know, you'd stay there. That would be, you know, the life you have now would be it, and it's not a good or a bad thing.
And it would be correct, and you would defend it. If anyone said there was something else possible, you'd be like, no.
This is the way it is. This is the way it is. Come on.
So what is that, right? Like, so when people are watching and they're like, yeah, but, you know, my situation's different. Like, you know, easy for you to laugh about money, easy for you, but I have to make rent. You know, I don't like my job. You know, I don't know how I'm going to pay for XYZ for my kids or whatever their thing is, right? And it's like, there really is no other possibility. Where do you go from there? Because it's like, I'm not choosing this, right? Like, it's not my fault that my boss fired me or I got laid off, or, you know, I wouldn't choose to be homeless in a month, you know, if I could choose something else, right? Like there's this sense of actually no choice, right? I'm living in this no choice universe. My choices did not create this. So if we turn that and flip that on its head and we say, okay, well, choice actually does create, and we look at what are we choosing, like what can we invite to anyone who's watching this and that is in that no choice space?
I would speak to the part of them that knows that something else is possible. So yes, that might be what you have been kind of defending and like digging your heels in, and that was like the best thing that worked at the time. But I think that your viewers are a little different than that.
Yeah.
Say that.
Maybe
They don't. I don't think that your viewers actually.
I think if you made it to watching this show with Rebecca,
with the name of
the Art of
Creation Show,
the Art of Creation and the Root of All Weevils, I think that they know a lot of people like that, and they thought that that's what they should be doing. But when it comes down to it, they would much rather have a sort of like magic wand, or just be able to snap their fingers and have something be different, or ask a question and something different shows up 3 hours later, 5 hours later, 3 months later, but they kind of know that it came from somewhere. So I think we have a really different group of people playing.
Yeah. So Georgia and Bret, if you were to offer a magic wand to the people watching this, what sort of magic wand might you choose?
Well, it sounds like gobbledygook, first of all.
Oh, you go that route. Okay, I got another route. What are you going to
say?
I mean, my route might take a little while, so let's go with your route first.
I've gone on your take a while routes, and they usually end up in really delicious places.
All right. So for me, the magic, for me, there's a...
I mean, we can do... We'll do that show next time, because that looks fun. We might have to get a rating, though, for that one. I'm not sure.
Totally. Or we can make that like a super secret special thing. Or, you know,
ooh, that's right.
Get to see my magic wand. But so anyway.
Changing realities by the choices we make, folks.
Yes. I was looking at in my own reflection, I was looking at this ring here. And this ring is something that I actually bought. When did I get this? A month ago?
I have no idea.
I don't know, somewhere. But this ring was bought with the money from something that we like to call a 10% account. And this is a tool that is totally a weird way to trick yourself into having more money.
Totally.
So,
Have you heard of tithing to the church? Like,
yeah,
God is the creator, so you need
like
to give 10%
idea,
to the church. What if you gave 10% to the church of you?
Of you, yeah.
It's just a terrible idea.
So I started doing that. When I started doing this, I literally had $100 in my life. Literally, just $100 and a grandparent's couch.
Candid conversation. Totally accurate.
Yes, totally accurate. And so I started. What you want to do is for everything that comes in, you want to put 10% of it away and not spend it. It's not there to spend. It's there to add to the having of money in your life. So I started doing this about 6 years ago, and I literally went from, I've gone from having $100 in my life to having thousands of dollars in my 10% account. And I've bought, I bought this ring, I bought this ring.
He got the bling, and he got the bling.
And so what
bling.
you want to do, you can quote unquote spend your 10%, but you want to spend it on things that you can sell for more later. That have intrinsic value. You don't want to do it on real estate, anything that eats money, which real estate eats money, cars that eats money. So you want to do it with things that actually you're having more money.
Yeah.
So like rings, jewelry, antiques, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Some art that you can ask it. What?
So this is a man we just heard. He had $100 to his name a while ago. He bought me a Roy Lichtenstein original for Christmas.
That's true.
I'm sitting there at my grandparents' house, like having a nice Christmas time, and then he's like, "I got you a gift," and he shows me what it was, and it's over here. Maybe we can take the thing over.
Yeah.
Picture. That's changing reality. So if anybody doubts that changing realities with money and changing your financial reality with money is a possibility.
Yeah,
we've got a really beautiful example, that it really is possible. And so the magic wand that I was going to talk about has helped a lot with that transformation too, and it is the Access Clearing Statement.
Yes.
And I know, Rebecca, you know all sorts about this too. So the three of us are actually Access Consciousness certified facilitators. So we've done lots of classes, lots of training to be able to use these tools to play with all these little areas that seem like they're unchangeable, but they actually are changeable. And I remember the first time I heard the Access Clearing Statement, I thought it was, I couldn't really hear it. I knew it was like a lot of words strung together. And, but it's right, wrong, good, bad, all 9 pod, poc, shorts, boys and beyonds. And like, for me, the really short version of it is everything that I've made right about it, whatever's up, whatever the conversation is, everything I've made wrong about it, everything that's good or bad. What if the thing is just the thing and not the story behind it?
Yeah. What if we actually didn't have to buy all the things that we're trying to make so real about this thing that's holding whatever limitation we're choosing to accept as real in place, right? So if you have not used the clearing statement, if you are interested in learning a little bit more about that, there is a website, theclearingstatement.com. So you can go to that and check that out and use it really as a magic wand when anything is coming up. And, even if you're not familiar with using energy at this point, if you really are just like, ooh, something's ick, or ooh, this isn't working, or ooh, what else is possible, right? You can say like, okay, well, everything that this is, and if you can't remember the whole thing, even just pod and pocket, right? Just destroy and uncreate everything that is. And so musical interlude. I wonder how to even turn that on.
Right. So does Ellen.
Awesome.
And
yeah, at some point, I guess that will stop. It may not be anytime soon. Let's see.
Keep dancing.
Receiving all the possibilities.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Musical interlude at its finest. Okay, so let's see. Where are we here? Am I even up there? Where am I? Okay.
You're right here.
Hello.
No.
All right, well, there we go. So there. So yeah, you can even just say, oh, okay, pod, poc, all that, right? Like everywhere where I created that as my reality, everywhere where I destroyed every other possibility that could be, I just give it all up, right? as I've said before, right? You take all the shit, you put it in the toilet, you flush it away out, and it's gone. So using that tool, awesome. The 10%, the putting to the 10% aside is super practical, right? It's super practical. And we can also logically see, right? If I have $10 and I put away $1, and every time I have $10, I put away $1. Every time I have $100, I put away $10, right? We get that. And there is also this whole other piece that shows up. Last March, I bought a ring as well. I've been doing a lot of painting in the new house, so I don't have it on right now. And I just really got, with my 10% account, I also bought this ring, and it's like, it actually bought me. Because I suddenly saw it, and it was like, I'm yours, you're mine right now, come on. And I was like, rah! I've never chosen anything like this before. And just simply by choosing, we talk about choice creates our reality, and just choice creates. Just by choosing that ring, not only did I now have something that practically can create value over time, it also changed me, like the me that I was willing to be and to step into. And energetically, it being on my finger was this constant invitation to something that I had never chosen before, I had never stepped into before, right? And it was like all of a sudden my capacity for receiving, like that Georgia was talking about, and also my capacity for being out in the world totally shifted. Before, that wasn't even something I even could conceive of that I would choose. And having chosen it, it was like I could never choose less than that again, right? So whether it's a ring, whether it's something tangible, or whether it's actually a way of me being in the world, it all changed, right? So it's like you have that energetic piece too.
Yeah, and walking around with a hunk of money on your body, what is that like for you?
Yeah, well, and for me, it's actually like I have this love affair with stones and with things from the earth. And I mean, rocks, gems, crystal, like these are little portable pieces of earth that you can take with you, right? Like, and so to have that, just my body loves it, feeling it there, the subtle weight of it, having the light kind of glint off of it and catch my eye. Like these are things that actually bring me huge joy. And it's not even the value of it. Like if I was to sell it, what's the value of it? It's actually what it creates for my body, what it creates for me, the simple joys of my day, and also just the fun of wearing it and of choosing it.
I'm sure most people think it's fake. I mean, how many people have a real version of that? But you get to have it for you.
You could talk about your family and that one dinner.
Oh my goodness.
It was like
I sort of
during
remember
the holidays.
Yeah, so I have one aunt that's a jeweler, one aunt that's a spiritualist, one aunt that's a child psychologist, and then my mom. So there are four girls. So what piece was it about? It's a hodgepodge. And my grandpa is a 2-star general in the Army, so
now retired.
Now retired, yeah. So I was wearing something. The thing doesn't even matter, actually.
Even matter, yeah.
So someone said, oh, that's so beautiful. Like, is that real? And then the jeweler aunt turns to the person and says, you don't even have to ask at this point. If George is wearing it, it's real.
So what did that create for you in your world?
Oh, I love it. I mean, every single Christmas, it's a joy for me to bring a new piece of jewelry that's going to shock the bejesus out of them.
Yeah, because it creates an energy. Like people will, like they, when they see those kind of things, like people deliver energies to you and to your body.
It's like things that you're not supposed to have, like diamonds, okay, but cubic zirconia would be more acceptable.
Which is so cool for me because I was never interested in things of money like anything that had to do with money at all.
Well, you
So-
were great at anarchy.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was really into anarchy in like in college and like all that stuff, and like the punk scene, which is all about like, you know, fighting against the system and like
Not
money was
taking a
evil
shower,
and like
because like showers are bad.
yeah, yeah, seriously, like deodorant, like
Who does that? That can cause all the
no, it wasn't even about for
It wasn't
deodorant. It
even
was
about
like
that.
about somebody like created this whole system.
Yeah, it's the man. It's all the whole energy of
Exactly.
defying the man. And
They
yeah.
just like did so to like sell you something to like, because your body is like, smell is intrinsically wrong. So
fuck that. So
Wow.
it's all resistance and reaction.
it was all
is actually
resistance
where we're
and
getting
reaction.
to with
Yeah.
that.
So I resisted and reacted to money like crazy. And what I found is having these kind of things actually contributes an energy to my life that creates more ease, more peace. It allows people to be able to receive from me easier and in a different way. Like if I was
Yeah.
having this like conversation with like Liberty
Bruce out
Spikes and like punk,
It
like
would go different
Yeah,
places.
it would
But
go
I have
different
to
places,
rat
yeah.
on Bret because recently, so we live in a building where there's valet parking, and then we host classes for Gary Douglas and Dr. Dane here, who are the founders of Access. When they're in Houston, we often host them for classes. So recently we were visiting the Hilton, and there is somebody there who every time he drives our car has the pride of having a brand new, what year is it right now?
2017.
2017. A brand new Audi TT because of Bret.
Yeah, well, the first you
Yeah.
can tell this.
No, you
oh,
tell
all
this
right.
part.
So the first time we go there, he's like, I hand in my ticket. You know, this guy drives the car around, and like he was in there. And I was like, damn, you look good in there. And this guy's like, it's like maybe like 40, 50 years old or whatever, and he's just like kind of like working as a fucking valet at the Hilton, like
For people who don't probably treat him super nicely.
Yeah. So he gets out, like he drives up in our car, and I'm like, and he comes out, I'm like, damn, you look good in that. When are you gonna get one of those? And he was like, he just like
He
beamed. He lit up.
And
Yeah.
now every time he sees Bret, he just lights up. And when he drives our car gets turned on.
Yeah.
Like our car looks way sexier. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what is going on here? But that's the strange gift that money can be. It's like we've
Yeah.
seen so many examples of money used.
Well, he will now fight every single time. There's been
that's true.
when we come up with our car to be valet parked, he will like
grabs the
he
keys
will
and
like
is
go
"I
in
got
front
it."
of like 3 other people who are trying to get us, and like he's like, yep, I got it.
That's awesome.
So no one else
Yeah.
drives the car now except for him at
So
this
that's
particular place.
that's part of what you having money can do to change other people's worlds, and like they can have
Yeah.
it like this guy before.
Well, so many people who have money try to make it seem like, well,
Like
I have it,
and
but you
don't.
can't.
You can't.
Yes.
Like,
But
that
that's
makes me
actually
better
not
than you.
true about money.
You mean there's enough for everyone?
Yeah.
But money doesn't grow on trees, Georgia.
Oh my
Unless
gosh,
you're an
so
almond farmer.
Okay. And my grandpa's a pistachio farmer.
Yeah.
We talked about him already. So
Money
it's
grew
relevant.
on trees.
That's
So-
true. In the form of
My
pistachio.
favorite magic wand, other than the one that's in my nightstand. Destroy and uncreate it all. Right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, pod, pop, shorts, boys, and beyonds. So
You have a magic wand in your nightstand?
I have.
That's the next show, Bret. Remember?
I didn't know she was in. I mean, I know she did. I wanted to make sure everyone heard that because she tried to sneak it in.
Yeah, mystic wand. It's like the little sister of the magic wand. It's wonderful.
You're opening all kinds of doors of possibility here, Georgia.
Would I ever?
So you know, when we're talking about this, and you know, the big elephant in the room is judgment, right? Don't you see him? He's right behind. You know, is judgment, because there are so many places where we judge around money, right? We judge ourselves, we judge others, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, and we can limit ourselves with what we're willing to choose based on not wanting to receive judgment. Now, when you have the rings on, right, and you're willing to receive judgment for that, and that can be, wow, those are beautiful, those are amazing, you know, it could also be, oh my gosh, you know, why would you spend your money on something like that? Like whatever the judgment is, right, quote, positive or negative, it's judgment. And so can you talk a little bit about receiving judgment around money and people, again, right? Like if someone is in that no choice place and then they're seeing you laughing and talking about money, right? And there is judgment, that heaviness. Can you talk a little bit about that and kind of going beyond that?
Well, I would ask, so who are you being? So like,
yeah,
I've become really good at judgment, and it's not something I'm super proud of, but I was taught from a really early age, like how to be, for example, this is just one example, at a really fine restaurant. So I'd be 6 years old, like acting totally properly at a restaurant. Mm-hmm. So is that a kid being a kid, or is that a kid knowing what this reality expects of them?
Yeah.
So I know a lot about what is required from this reality.
Mm-hmm. I'm so grateful for that, by the way, because like I totally don't have that, so I'm really grateful for everything that you've taught me about what this reality is. That's what I like about you. I know, we kind of work well. It's like I'm kind of.
Thank you for being so autistic. Yeah. Thank you for being so rational.
Exactly. Thank you for knowing what this reality requires and expects. Thank you for not knowing what this reality requires and expects.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I love you kind of pointing that out too. And I just want to put in a little shadow box here, right? Because there's this thing, and I talk to my kids about this too, where it's like, you know, choice creates. So what could you choose now to actually have more ease? So, you know, there's a difference in this situation with Georgia, right? Like, Georgia, if you're sitting there as a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, and you are making yourself be something because you think you have to be that, and there's like kind of this separation of you from what that thing is that you think you need to be, that's such a different world than, oh, I'm aware of what is required here to have ease for myself, so that I can actually play within the expectations and the projections around me, but without actually buying them as me or a confinement that I have to limit myself to. Yeah.
And that
is so brilliant, because that's exactly what I've been learning the past couple of years of how to actually, because like, you know, when I was against money, like I would create ease for myself in the way that I was living, in the poverty I was living in. But as I've actually chosen to have money in my life and to have these things that denote wealth, it's just made my life so much easier and richer, just because of that being willing to have so much more than before. And like,
well, that's also part of what the 10% account is created for, is to have. And Gary Douglas came up with this idea years ago because he saw people tithing to the church. And the second I heard about that, I was so grateful that I would be valuable enough to tithe too, because the whole point of it is to honor, like tithing is about honoring your like true creator. But what if your true creator of your life is you? And to put money aside to just have, like, I've floated in the bath with that. I've rolled around in bed with it. Like, I've used my 10%. I've slept with it just as like a little cuddle toy, like a teddy bear. But to start to build that having it's something we're never encouraged to do, but can change everything. Yeah,
because money just makes this world so much easier to deal with when you're willing to have money.
It's easier to fly first class than it is to fly coach.
Yeah, it's more
and easier to fly than walk or swim.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So money in itself, I don't see money in itself as evil or weevil, but
evil weevil,
or even really having like a value of itself. It's just like it can contribute something that
Yeah, well, just like anything that is, you have something that can be both a weapon and a tool, right?
Yeah.
And what actually creates it as a tool, what creates it as a weapon? Well, it's really how we choose to use it, right? So it's kind of like the same thing, right? I mean, a hammer is a very useful tool when you're hanging a picture, right? If you are crushing someone's skull with it, well, then that's a different thing that you're creating with the hammer, right? Right?
Well,
So,
think about that with access consciousness also, like the tools of access, you can use them, or you can just look at them and be like, nice hammer.
But it's not even about the tool. It's about who's wielding it and what they're wielding it for. The same thing with money.
What are you choosing?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because it's like, is money evil, or have people chosen to do evil shit with money?
Exactly. Yeah, because the hammer in and of itself is just a hammer. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just a pipe.
Right. And just because, I mean, we can take this in crazy places too, but like when it comes to sex, like people have used sex as a weapon also, or just anything.
Yeah.
But they have also used it for kindness and greatness,
for healing, and nurturing and caring.
Yeah.
That
with
comes
money. With everything. So let's use the crazy one that we love so much.
Yes.
So all of the evil and the healing that's come from sex and money. This is a crazy one. Can we destroy and uncreate all of that?
Yes.
Right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, POD, sharks, boys, and hands.
Yeah. Cool. So and any time that there is any kind of an energy that comes up, that's how it can actually work, right? That something comes up and then we just look at that and we say, okay, and ask a question. And then, I in my classes, I'll often say the way that I visualize it is it's like you have a rug and you beat the rug and then you have all the little dust particles that come out of the rug, right? So that's the energy being up, right? All the little dust particles. And then we use the clearing statement, and it's kind of like taking a little dust buster and sucking out all of those particles so that now you have a clear space again, right? And so
never belonged to you anyway, because you can't destroy anything that was truly yours and truly, like, actually true.
The dust was never part of the rug.
The dust was never.
Exactly.
That's a great analogy.
That's totally new for me. I love that.
Yeah, cool. So now, so you guys are actually in the middle of a money month, right?
We like money way more than we should.
Yeah, so
it's weird to actually acknowledge that for me from where I came from. It's so
I found
awesome.
you on your grandparents' couch.
I know. Yeah.
Ooh. Oh, again.
Skyped a lot.
Oh, that's awesome. So will you share with us what this money month is about, and what you're looking at in that series over the course of the month?
Yeah, I mean, we've
awesome.
Tried to limit it to like 20 to 30 minutes each day, because basically it's a 31-day series.
We were like, we're just going to do like little 20-minute things.
We're on day 4 and we have not gone less than 45 minutes. Every single day it's been 45 minutes, and we're like, we should probably go by now. I mean, we'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
And then we're going and people are like,
Please keep going.
Please keep going.
That's
so
awesome.
Talking about money from a different perspective, we have 4 clearings. Yeah. So the very beginning of it is Bret is brilliant at reading reference materials from Access Consciousness. He reads everything.
There's like 4,000 pages of reference materials of like all the stuff that's been talked about in these different classes that have been in the manuals that no longer apply to everyone.
Right. Yeah. But he'll find these little things that apply so poignantly. And he found these 4 clearings that Gary said, I'll look up.
Yeah. He said if you run them 30 times a day for 30 days, run these 30 times a day for 30 days if you're looking to create a different reality monetarily.
Yeah, and we're like, we're looking for that.
Yeah,
so we started doing it.
Looking for that.
Yeah, so we started doing that on our own, and then by day like 3 or 4, we're like, well, if we're already running these, what would it create to invite other people to run them with us? Because we love playing with this and we love facilitating. And then the idea of Money Month came up, and we're like, okay, let's do it. Yeah. So we've got wonderful people
Yeah,
on
it's
there.
awesome.
We're doing
Oh my
Facebook
gosh.
Lives every day, clearing things, and people are asking
The
questions.
people who
and
have joined us on this money month have been amazing. It's like they're just
so fun.
so fun and so hungry for something different. Like we can just go and go and go and go.
Yes.
It's,
Now, is this open to everyone, whether they are new
Yes.
to the clearing statement or not? Like, is this anyone can join in?
Literally
Totally,
anybody
yeah.
can, and we've got like audio loops that you can run like while you sleep or during the day if you
and
want.
we have the
then we've got
replays of all the
daily
ones we've done so
replays.
far.
Yeah,
So,
we're just going crazy, and we
I
did
know.
it totally wrong. We like had only 4 days to prepare for the whole series. We're like, oh, we're not waiting. We're doing this like soon.
And we
So if you
literally-
want to come play, and then people are like, yeah,
And
now.
we literally do what we do every morning. Like we go out on
Every
our
morning.
balcony and we
We have
process stuff.
coffee, we
Yeah.
process stuff, and that's where it kind of came from. Is like we would go out there every morning for the past months and months, and just find the like deepest, darkest places where like we're so
We
wrong,
just
and
clear
then clear
stuff.
it, and then it's like fine.
And
You
it's
know,
like more space to create our day.
It's brilliant to me that you are bringing so much fun and lightness to a topic that can be so heavy, right? I mean, how many lies are there around money that we're telling ourselves on a daily basis?
And we find lies that we've been functioning from pretty much every day.
Every day, and then we clear them, and then we don't have to have them running our lives anymore.
There's
so
no,
like we saw that they could clear and change things for us. So we're being that with a group, and then the way we see it too is like that changes the world. Even one more person who's willing to just destroy and create where a lie isn't working for them.
Yeah,
that changes the world.
Yeah, and when we were, oh, my train left again.
Train left the station.
Oh my gosh.
Well, you know, it's also that piece, and we were talking about it a little bit before the call, you know, that piece of where when we are willing to be honest with ourselves about what it is we're choosing, and being on and being willing to be honest with then what are we judging about that? What are we creating with it? And would we actually like to choose something different? And do we have the courage to not only strip away all the places where we're hiding, you know, what we think are our deepest, darkest secrets, but are we also willing to really ask for something different, even if we're not sure what it is that we could be choosing, right? And that's that piece too about asking questions that don't actually have an answer. Mm-hmm. And it can seem really weird sometimes to ask these really big questions that, you know, sometimes because it does go beyond what is cognitive for us. It does go beyond what is logical in this reality. And so there does seem to be, I think, for a lot of people, this default setting of like, oh, well, that's not real. So therefore I'm not even gonna play because it's stupid to even play the game of, hey, what if, I love this example. I was speaking with Georgia and she said, what if every time a flower opens, what if I could actually receive from that? And what if it came in the form of money? Or what if it came in the form of receiving something into my world that linearly doesn't make any sense, right? But suddenly my financial reality shifts and changes. My sex life changes. My ability to commune with nature, with my partner changes. Would we be willing to just ask for it, even if it doesn't make sense that it's possible? So what are some of the questions that you've been asking that that open up new possibilities in your life?
This is a crazy one, but we destroy and uncreate our relationship every single day. We destroy and uncreate our relationship with our businesses. Yeah,
with our businesses, with each other, with ourselves. That's like
with our
the
bodies.
best one. Yeah. So then you get how when you go along, you have a relationship with either you or your body or money or somebody else, and it's like, it starts out great. It's like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And then it's like, you decide the things that they are, and you decide what you can't be with them, and all this other stuff. And then it's like, yeah, it gets, and then you get married, and then there's all this other stuff. And it's like, and then it becomes all about functioning from like the projections and the expectations of what you're supposed to be and who this person's supposed to be to you. When you actually destroy and uncreate your relationship with a person or a business every day, it creates
it starts anew.
Yeah, it starts
anew.
anew.
It's fresh every day.
But then how do you control everybody, Bret?
Well, then you control everybody from awareness in the moment, because the more awareness you're willing to have of the things that are as they are, the more you actually get to let go of control from controlling things into less, into being that catalyst for change that controls everything into more.
Yeah, it's so interesting, that control energy, right? Of like where we like all, just even all those places where like, where we're trying to control around money too. Like I go right to all those places, right? With the hiding and the protecting against the deepest, darkest, right? Like, and so it's like trying to then control all these pieces to make sure that this whole big complicated framework and structure that we've created as our lives, doesn't fall apart. But it's so rigid, right? That any movement could actually make the whole thing topple. And so, you're like this in your life, not wanting anything to like crumble the whole thing. And yet, if we actually did allow all of that to completely fall, right? And we're like, oh shit, but then what would I be? And I'd be naked and I'd be vulnerable and like danger, mayday, right?
Like, someone help me.
What if it's actually what if there's actually a different possibility in that space? Yeah. And what do you guys know about vulnerability and about letting go of that structure and control?
Well, one of the things that we've both found is when we've been willing to be vulnerable with what's actually true for us and what's actually going on, and the places where we've chosen things that have created less and chosen things that have created more, that it's like when you look at those, actually, when you put down those barriers to the deepest, darkest things that you've believed about you, and actually ask a question like, wait a second, is this actually mine? And you kind of get a sense that, and it lightens up even just a little bit, it means it's actually not yours at all. It has never been yours. You've just been aware. You've been aware of it. And when you're willing to be present with those things that you think are the deepest, most darkest, terrible things of you, and you're willing to perceive you as the being that you are, what you get from that is not the judgment of everything you've been and done before, or everything you haven't been able to been or do before, but what you get is actually a sense that you can choose anything. You can literally choose to be bad or awful or terrible, or be great, or be just okay. But you get to have that choice in your life, that not everything that you've chosen before is not a fixed, solid thing, but you can create yourself anew every day. And what would it be like? Yeah, you get to be. You get to just be.
And people are like, well, what is that? I mean, don't I just be, right? And it's like, well, and how much do we kind of look at all the doing, right? The doing in our lives as the being. And when we're not doing, and we're like, well, then what's left, right? And it doesn't mean we're not going to take action.
Yeah. Right?
There is action, but it's like, what can we actually be and be aware of what we are? Yes. Dr. Dane. So this is an amazing book, Being You, Changing the World by Dr. Dane here. And I will put the link to that in in the notes of the show. And Bret,
Being You Facilitator.
I was going to say, Bret is a certified Being You Facilitator.
And he also does these terrible things called Story Time with Bret.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I love that.
All over, yeah.
Cool.
This book.
So, and those are Facebook Lives, right, Bret?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Okay.
Yeah. Facebook Lives. You can find me at it's facebook.com/access ACCESS Bret BRET with only one T.
One
So
T.
open up a book, and like we just did right now, like Being You, Changing the World by Dr. Dane here, and it just has a question here. What if there were something right about everything that you've chosen? And he'll just riff on it, he'll read it, he'll be with it, and be with you guys. So I highly recommend his shows.
That's one of my favorite things to
fun.
do. I do it about like once a week, once every 2 weeks. Whenever the energy just goes, hey, can you do a story time with Bret?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I adore them, and of course you. So
you, Rebecca.
go on. No, really, go on. I want to hear more.
Really good today. In every way.
So yeah, and then because then we're stepping into that whole, like, when you shed away all the shit, right? And then we come into this being you with money changing the world, right? So what is the future that you perceive as possible with money that maybe people haven't fully considered or looked at yet?
Well, we saw a video right before we got on here of this kid who's 6 years old, and in Georgia, in the United States, not Georgia the country.
I was like, Georgia, where are you keeping her? Not near.
The 6-year-old little boy who both of his parents died. One died when he was 4, and one died when he was 6. And what he chose to do with that, he said he's still sad about, his parents dying. But what he chose to do was to actually create smiles in the world. And so what he's done a bunch of times is he goes and he gets these little toys, these little like dinosaurs and these
duckies.
Little ducks. Aww. And he just goes out and he gives it to people who aren't smiling. And he's created a whole lot of smiles. And sometimes it shows that he creates tears, and people are just so overwhelmed and touched with that kindness that this little 6-year-old boy is just giving them something with no agenda, he's not trying to get them to buy anything. He's just giving it to them just for the possibility that they could be happier.
Yeah.
And that's where I see what the future with money could be, is where we actually use money to create more kindness in the world and to nurture and care for people with it.
That's so beautiful. And Bret, when you're talking about that, it's like I really, you can really see where the person receiving the dinosaur or the ducky or the little toy, right? Like you can see what that creates for them and how much he is receiving by them receiving the gift.
Totally.
Right.
And we were both like, I was crying. I was crying watching it. You were crying watching it.
Yeah.
His smiles were there, and it didn't take away the hurt of his parents leaving, because I know what it's like. My dad passed away when I was 15, and he was a brilliant, kind, loving being, and it's hard to not have that body there anymore.
Yeah.
But to have the smiles there that he's creating, and he's creating something with that, it's like we can all learn from that when times are hard, we can begin to gift more and be more more for others. And sometimes that actually contributes to our healing as much as it does to other people.
Yes. How much can we actually receive by being the gift that we be with others? That.
Rebecca, oh my God.
That is the future that I'm asking for on a daily basis. And it's so, this example is so beautiful, right? How many places, and this is a child, right? And nobody would fault him if he was choosing despair or anger, right? In this reality, no one would fault him, but he's not choosing that. He's choosing to create something greater in the world and transform what could be, you know, a pain that could go in another direction, transform it into something that's actually spiraling out and creating greater in the world. And like, where are all those places where we, as people, as individuals, you know, are at those turning points and at those moments of choice where it's like we can go into the victim scenario. We can go into the story of why things are like this and solid and unchangeable. And we can also choose to look at what else is possible. And we may not even know what that is. We may not, you know, we're not asking necessarily for an answer as much as just another step that we can take that's going to give us a little bit more space to make another choice and a little more space to make another choice until we actually can function from that space of being us that can be greater. Yeah.
And doing victim is wonderful, actually. It's a great tool. I mean, I used it for a long time until it wasn't giving me everything I was asking for.
Yeah. Yeah. It gives you everything you're asking for. And then when you actually want to go beyond that, suddenly it's like, well, shit, I can't actually maintain both of these things.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because I can't actually create and choose greater if I have to also maintain all these reasons and justifications for why things suck so bad. So now it's a conundrum of like, wait a minute.
Exactly. Like
I
I have
actually
every
have to choose.
reason and justification like at my disposal of why I could be a victim or why I could be pathetic or why I could have no money. But after a while, it kind of gets boring.
Yeah.
For me, at least. I mean, it's like, wait a second, what actually else is possible?
And then you can play with the crazy idea of never give up, never give in, and never quit. And then if you feel like you want to quit, just take 2 more steps. Just 2 more. Like 1 and then 2. And just see.
Yeah. And you know, another tool that I love there too is just that thing of like, you know, show me something beautiful, right? Right? Like sometimes when it's like, I just don't even know what the next step is. I do, and yet maybe I'm not willing to really perceive or acknowledge it. It's like, okay, I always have at least one choice available to me, even if I can't perceive any of the other infinite number, right? I always have at least that one choice of like, just look around and what is one thing that you can acknowledge as, you know, having possibility, having beauty, something that you can be grateful for, you know? And sometimes it's like, well, I just took a breath. Okay. Right. Like,
yeah.
And how does it get any better than that?
Yeah.
How does it get any better than that? So, so before we close the show for today, this is so fun. I could just go forever. Before we close the show for today, is there anything else on this topic or not on this topic, but around choice creating and around an invitation to actually create a future that works? Is there anything else you'd like to share?
I mean, I'd say just choose, because every choice you make creates some kind of awareness of like, and if it doesn't have to be right or wrong, what you've ever chosen, if what you've ever chosen doesn't have to be right or wrong, you just get more choice, and you just get to perceive what every choice you could choose would create into the future.
Yeah. And you get to choose again.
Yeah. And
that's
again,
the cool
and
thing.
Again,
and now, and now, and now. Right. And what if we could make gazillion mistakes and never be wrong? Would we be willing to allow that of ourselves and of the people around us? And what kind of a world and what kind of a future would we actually create with that kind of allowance and with that possibility? Cool. Well, I'm infinitely grateful to both of you for being on the show, for assisting me in kicking off 2.0 version of the Art of Creation show. You guys are brilliant. There will be links down below to invite anyone watching to your money month, and how much fun can we all have with that. Also, there'll be a link for the book in case anybody's interested in Dr. Jaden Hayes' book, Being You, Changing the World. Only choose it if you might like to be you and change the world. Otherwise, you know, it might not be that fun. And other than that, you know, if you are enjoying the show, please like the Art of Creation show Facebook page. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, and feel free to add comments, ask your questions, and let us know what it is that you are curious about. So until then, what choices will you be making? What are you creating with those choices? And how much fun can you have? So thank you guys so much for playing, and we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.